Well, hey there, folks. It's Joel, and I thought I would share a story with you guys today. I'm here with my girl, Houdini, and I thought it would be fun on this kind of here where I am. It's a rainy and windy and kind of dreary day, but it's a good day to hang out inside with some of my snakes. And I thought I'd share with you the story of how this girl got her name. It's an interesting one. It was a fun experience. Well, it wasn't fun when we were going through it, but it is a good story to tell. So before we get right into the story, let me tell you a little bit about her if I can. She's obviously cruising around good. She's a big girl. She is a proven breeder. She has bred for us, and she's just a beautiful banana pastel inchie, or inchie pastel. I don't know. She's a banana pinchy. And she is, I believe, building follicles again to breed for us, hopefully again this year. But this girl holds a special place in my heart because she is the first baby female that we ever produced that laid eggs for us. So she came from the very first clutch of eggs that I ever produced as 7th level reptiles. And she is an anomaly. So if you don't know, and I'm not going to go into all this because it's kind of not the point of this video, and it's a little bit interesting and hard to explain, but the banana gene, which makes this animal so yellow and bright, is what we call a sex-linked gene. It is the way that it is passed from one parent to the other is dependent on which chromosome it resides on. And so what happens, or the way it ends up happening, is that it's far more common to have males than female bananas. And many males will only make male offspring if they carry that banana gene. They're referred to as male makers. Occasionally you may have a female maker, if you've ever seen that. That means that one has the opposite, where it's a male that came from a female mother. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole too far, but it means its offspring is going to be predominantly female. So her dad, Boomerang, one of my first male breeder, should have been a male maker, but when he gave me this clutch, he gave me 3 banana offspring, and it turned out ultimately that 2 were male and 1 was actually a female, which she shouldn't have been, and it was a heck of a surprise, but it meant all the more because we almost didn't get to keep her, and I'm going to explain why. Now, you probably are familiar with the name Houdini.
Cool. Magic, 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 magic. And now, Michael the Magic will attempt to escape from extreme bondage. Can he do it? I don't see how he can. I know how.
He was one of the most famous magician, if you will, or illusionists ever to live, and was very well known for his ability to escape things. But oftentimes illusionists have a disappearing act where they disappear. And so, as you may have guessed, Houdini, before she got her name, put on her own little disappearing act. Some of you may have been through that with ball pythons before. They are escape artists if you don't provide the proper security for their enclosures. That's one of the reasons why these tubs are so great, because they can't escape. But I didn't always have these really nice ARS racks like I do now. And so in the early days, budget was tight, and I decided to get started like many keepers and breeders do by building my own first rack. And I was able to do that. For the materials only cost me about $75. Now, this was a long time ago. I'm sure it would be way more than that now with inflation. But back then, I was able to get all the materials for about $75. And I built my own rack system. Now, the heat tape and the tubs and the thermostat, that's all extra. I'm just talking materials there. But I built this awesome, amazing rack. I think it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It could hold up to 7 tubs, but I think it only had 6 because I wanted to use 1 for like storage to put stuff in. But anyway, as you can see me looking over there, I still have it. So I'm going to cut it away real quick, and I'm going to move over there, and I'm actually going to show you that rack and talk a little bit about what happened. All right, so I thought I'd actually show it to you here. We'll move back a little bit. But you can see this is the first rack that I built. If you look at it from far back, it actually doesn't look too bad. But if you look up close, you're going to discover that I am no carpenter. Obviously, I haven't used this in years, and it's now just used for storage. But essentially what happened was, you can kind of see as we zoom in, it's not a perfect angle. Melamine also has a tendency, it can warp slightly over time. But I had two different size tubs. I started with these tubs here because I had bigger snakes. And then I moved to these smaller tubs when I had hatchlings on the way. And what I did is, once the hatchlings came, I tried to adjust the size of the spaces just a little bit, because as you can see, this is a little bit taller than the bigger ones. And I tried to, because I was cheap at the time, didn't have a whole lot to put into it, I was trying to save myself some money and and make the adjustments myself so that I could use the rack for both adults and smaller snakes. So in my efforts to be efficient with my space and resources, you know, I made the adjustments hoping that I could use the rack when the hatchlings came along. Unfortunately, I may have overestimated my abilities to be precise. And what happened is, once the eggs came, I put them in the smaller tubs. That, of course, included this girl. And there was enough of a gap. I thought it wasn't quite, I thought it was okay, but there was enough of a gap that actually a few of the snakes were able to get out of their tubs and escape. Thankfully, this happened twice. The first time, not thankfully it happened twice, but it happened twice. Thankfully, the first time I had a freezer for my frozen rats in the room. And so I found a couple of them huddled together, including this girl, underneath that freezer on the compressor, which gets nice and warm. And so they were drawn to that. And I used some pieces of cardboard to kind of shove under the front of the tubs, thinking I could raise it up enough that maybe I wouldn't have to worry about gaps and them getting out. But as you may have guessed already, that too kind of failed. And we had a couple more escapes. I ended up finding everybody except this little munchkin. She was gone. And at that point, I had not sexed them, so I didn't know she was a he. Not that that made a difference, except that had she been a male, I probably would have put her up for sale. I wouldn't have kept her. But anyway, she's gone. And so we began scouring the house. And some of you watching this surely have been through a similar situation, and you're looking all over. By the way, just a tip is, they can squeeze into crazy places. So they'll find their way into places you would think they wouldn't be able to fit. But generally speaking, they're going to go somewhere where it's warm, dark. If it's humid, that helps too. So appliances are actually a draw for them. Computers, lamps that may be on and creating heat, anything like that. Just a FYI. But if you've been through that, you know how stressful it can be. You feel bad as a keeper that you failed to provide the environment. But the reality is, even though I thought we were okay, these jokers are just escape artists. But I will say, ultimately, in the long run, I'm choosing carefully. I'm going to say this. My wife probably won't watch this, but you know, after that escape incident, it became really a whole lot easier to convince my wife to let me invest in one of these ARS racks when that time came. So maybe, though I promise it was not intentional, it was a very positive byproduct. But anyway, poor Houdini went missing, and I couldn't find her. I mean, we couldn't find her. I searched everywhere. I searched upstairs. I searched downstairs. Even though I figured she couldn't get upstairs from where the room was, I searched. I flipped the freezer over. I moved every refrigerator. I moved everything I could think of. We looked in the cracks of the couches. You know, you tried to set out warming things and try to draw or something. We could just never find her. And so 15 days, or no, I think it was 13 days. 13 days go by. I have still never found her. And honestly, I kind of given up, and I'm thinking one day I'm going to, like, my heart's going to be broken. I'm going to move something and find, you know, the remains of this poor snake. Not that I didn't already feel bad enough for losing her. And then one night, this is a true story. It's nighttime. We've got the kids are in bed, and I'm getting ready. It's about time for us to go to bed, and I'm downstairs, and I grabbed a flashlight, and I just said a quick prayer. I said, Lord, would you please help me find this snake? And so I took my little flashlight, and I started looking a few places around the computers, computer desk, couches, and something made me go into our little mud room where the laundry equipment was. My wife had the washing machine going. Now, I had moved the dryer and the washer in the past and looked under those things. But of course, the washing machine's really heavy, especially when it's loaded with water and clothes. But as that thing was kind of shaking, I looked down with my flashlight between the washer and the dryer, and what do I see but this little joker's head and about, I don't know, a third to half of her body sticking out from under the washing machine. And I'm just like, praise the Lord. And then I'm thinking, okay, now how can I grab her before she tries to go back under there? Because I'm worried if she gets back under there and I try to move that thing around, one, it's running and it's heavy as all get out, but I don't want to squish her because this thing doesn't have a whole lot of clearance. I didn't think, honestly, that she would even be able to fit under it, but of course she could. But thankfully, I was able to grab her real quick. She didn't retreat. I pulled her right out. She was calm as could be, although a little dehydrated. We got her into an adjusted tub system where I made sure to make some adjustments that the escape was not possible, although it was a little harder for me to open and close those tubs after that. I made sure that the escape possibility was gone. We got her rehydrated, got her fed. I didn't mention this, but her escape actually happened before she ever had her first meal. So that was kind of stressful for me too. That was my first year breeding. And so it was, you know, just a lot of things that I've learned over the years that was not quite as much cause for worry as I initially thought at that point in time. Just things you learn over time. But no food, no drink. Thankfully, she went to eating quickly. She got rehydrated, and I feel like I need to hold her closer because she's just so beautiful. Both the pastel and the Inchi genes help reduce this spotting. But anyway, like I was saying, we got her back in, rehydrated, fed, and she's done great. And once we got her back settled in, I decided to go ahead and sex the snake and discover that she was a female. And I thought, there's no way. This is crazy. So I actually took her to a friend, much more experienced than me, and let him pop her. He popped and said, she's popping female. Then he got out his probe kit. He probed. She's a female. And I'm like, hot diggity dog. So not only did she put me through this crazy adventure, but then she turned out to be a female. She's been a great animal for us. Hopefully she'll produce more babies this year. And we'll get to see her offspring yet again. She's amazing. You can see how sweet she is. I've been moving her all over the place, and she's just been kind of chilling with me and wrapping around. You know, she's not trying to squeeze me or anything. She just wants to feel safe and secure. And really, that's kind of comforting with a ball python. They give you a nice little squeeze. It's like somebody's giving you a hug. But the temperament of this snake, just as a testament to why so many people love ball pythons. She's obviously beautiful, so bright. All right, well, let's change things up a bit here. You might notice that a little green light on my microphone just went out because the battery died. So rather than hearing me ramble, let's talk, and you can see my lips move in a different way. Hopefully that doesn't irritate you as much as it does me, but I don't really have a choice. I was trying to kind of wrap up by talking about why ball pythons are so popular as displayed by this girl here. Not only is she beautiful, she's got such a great temperament. And 99% of the time, if you handle a ball python regularly, they're going to end up with a great temperament just like hers. But she's bright and yellow. There's also dark ones for those of you who prefer that. And there's any kind of pattern in between. So there really is something for anybody. And that's the reason so many people have to have more than one. Anyway, we'll wrap this up for now. Thank you for joining me. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It's free and it helps me out. As always, I want to encourage you to share the love of reptiles with anybody you can, and I'll see you guys next time.